Good evening everyone and welcome to the Key Stage 3 Family Revision session recorded for the 4th of January 2023. Firstly, I'd just like to say a big Happy New Year and thank you so much for watching this video tonight. We hope that you're going to find it really useful in helping you and your child to prepare for their Data Point 1 assessments, which are coming up in about a week and a half. My name's Mrs. Barker. I'm one of the assistant head teachers here at St Thomas More Catholic Academy, and I've included there one of my favourite images. Some people dream of success while others wake up and work hard for it. And I think that's absolutely key in terms of having the dedication, the grit, the resilience in order to achieve success, whatever that looks like for you, whatever you are aiming to achieve in your life and in your future. And of course, that looks different for everybody. I've added here the GCSE grading structure just to show parents who, as I did, went to school perhaps a few years ago when the grading structure at GCSE was A star to G. So just to explain to you how that looks different now. An old C grade has been split into two numbered grades, a 4 or a 5. A 4 is a pass, technically, the equivalent of the bottom of an old C. And a 5 is classed as a good pass or a strong pass. So you might hear that language used in school. Of course, we want all of our students to be achieving those 5s and above, getting those strong passes. And similarly, at the top end of the old grading structure, you might have achieved an A or an A star. When I was at school, they were the best grades you could possibly achieve. But you'll notice here that that's been split again now into 3 numbered grades, a 7, an 8 or a 9. So a 7 is equivalent to an old A grade, an 8 is equivalent to an old A star grade, and a 9 is equivalent to an old A star, but the top 20% of students who achieve that. So a very, very aspirational grade to achieve. And we have many students at St Thomas More who go on to get 9s. Some of our students got straight 9s last year and achieved fantastic results. So lots of success. I've added an image here of a timeline of your qualifications, and of course we're at Key Stage 3, so your child tonight may be in Year 7, Year 8 or Year 9 because they're all Key Stage 3 year groups, but we are working towards our Level 2 GCSE qualifications. So where that arrow is at the end of Year 11 in the yellow box, your child should achieve their Level 2 qualifications, and getting those strong passes definitely in Maths and English and in other subjects will enable your child to access Level 3 qualifications, which is that lime green box just above, and that's what they may do here hopefully at our 6th form, or they may go on to college or an apprenticeship to get those Level 3 qualifications. And then further, if they choose to continue into higher education, that's Level 4, 5, 6 would be an honours degree, Level 7 would be a master's degree, and of course the furthest you could go is Level 8 to get a PhD. So we know that that may not be what every child wants to do, and we certainly want to make sure you achieve what you want to do in your life, but that's the pathway if you decided to continue in education. Now, I absolutely love this analogy. It's called the iceberg illusion, and your child has probably seen this before in acts of worship, because we do use this quite regularly to remind everybody, including the adults in the building, that actually success can be a bit of an illusion sometimes. So when you look around at other people and see their success, all you are seeing is that tip of the iceberg that pokes above the water, but actually there's so much more that's gone on beneath the water that people don't see to achieve that success, and that includes dedication, hard work, day in, day out, having good routines, good study habits, having discipline. Sometimes we don't want to do revision or we don't want to do homework, but actually it's about having that self-discipline and self-regulation to choose to do that anyway when we'd rather go out with our friends. Success always includes some disappointment at times, and it will always include some failure at times. I think some of our students think that success is just a linear path where you never fail and you never get anything wrong, but that's just not reality. Failure is part of that journey to success. And I think a very important one is sacrifice. Of course, you may have to sacrifice some of the things you love or prefer to do to achieve that success, particularly at those pressure points in the year. And I would say that we are just starting now a pressure point of our year in the week and a half that leads up to the assessment fortnight. So this is the time, this week, next week, and the week after, where you might feel like you are sacrificing things. You're having to give up the things you'd really like to do, whether that be football or going out with your friends quite so much, in order to revise and to prepare effectively for your assessments. But that's a normal part of the journey to success, and not all parts of the year are as difficult as others. So you need to know when it is time to sacrifice things and really knuckle down and get your head down and focus on those assessments in order to do your absolute best. We often talk to students about mindset, and there are two types of mindset, and if you're interested in this, there's a huge amount of research that's been done by Professor Carol Dweck in America on what she calls a growth mindset, and that's what we want all of our students and adults to have. So we talk to students about this regularly, but it's the opposite of a fixed mindset. So if you have a fixed mindset, you might give up easily when things get tough. You might think that failure means you can't do it and there's no way that you're going to achieve that success in the future. You might avoid something that you find hard or challenging because you feel like you're going to fail with it. Or you might just stick to those things that you find easy. So you might find geography really easy, so you just revise geography and bury your head in the sand and avoid the maths revision because you find that tougher, for instance. So that's having a fixed mindset. But the opposite end of the scale is having a growth mindset. So this is where you see any failure as an opportunity for growth. And you really truly believe that you can do anything if you put your mind to it. And there's lots of fascinating evidence on growth mindset that proves really that you can achieve anything if you put that time and effort and dedication into it. In particular, there's one study about the best violinists in the world and what sets them apart from those violinists that are good, very good, but maybe not the absolute best world-class violinists. And when they've looked at the evidence, it is just the amount of time they have spent practicing playing the violin. And actually that equated to more than 10,000 hours of practice. So it's all about, yes, you can be the best at whatever you want to be, but you have to put that hard work and that resilience and that dedication into practicing. So we recognise we're all human, and you will flip between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset at times. If you're having a difficult day, it's very easy to slip back into having a fixed mindset. But becoming more self-aware is about recognising that and turning your thoughts around to having that growth mindset. So our data point assessments are coming up in just over a week and a half, start on Monday the 16th of January and will run for 2 weeks. And it's about us now really preparing most effectively for those assessments and making sure that you do the absolute best that you possibly can. And that starts with fully engaging in your lessons, but it definitely doesn't end there. You are going to need to put in some hard work outside of that lesson time. Finally then from me, if you need any tools for revision, such as pens, pencils, flashcards, rulers, rubbers, highlighters, a clear pencil case to take into your mock exams, I do have a bank of resources in school, so please come and see me in school. Alternatively, if you have any feedback or any questions, you can always email me on my email address, which I've just put at the bottom of that slide. So thank you so much for attending tonight. I'm going to hand over now to Mr. Rankin, our assistant head teacher. So you're going to hear from many different members of staff tonight. about subjects in maths, English, science, RE, and their top tips for how you can most effectively prepare for those assessments. And in this second, I'm going to hand over to Mr. Rankin, who's going to talk to you about your revision timetable. But if you need any equipment to help you to revise at home, we can provide that. So either email me on that email address on screen, or pop to see me in school and I can help to provide you with that equipment. So I hope you enjoy the rest of the evening, and I'm going to hand over to Mr. Rankin.
Hello, I'm Mr. Rankin, one of the assistant head teachers. To find your exam timetable and revision lists for the upcoming assessments, all you need to do is go to the school website, click on the student landing page, and you'll find your year group tab there. So if you're in year 9, for example, click on the tab, you'll find your exam timetable, which tells you which lessons your subjects will be timetabled for. You'll complete your assessments in those sessions. If you're in any doubt at all, just ask your subject teacher. And the revision lists will be there, so that's one list for all the subjects with a very broad overview of which topics need to be revised for. More details about topics can be found in your Teams page on your subject channels.
Hello, I'm Mr. Howitt, and I'm going to go through some revision techniques that are going to be really important for you to revise effectively and efficiently. We're going to cover 3 main things when looking at revision techniques. So firstly, understanding how you learn, so looking at your learning style. Then based on your learning style, what revision technique will then work best for you. And then finally, how someone at home is then able to support you in revising in the best possible way. So let's begin at looking at learning styles to be able to understand how you learn best. There are 3 main learning styles: visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. Visual learners prefer to see the information in front of them, and they may draw pictures and diagrams to help explain the content. And they may also use their own system of symbols to link the different points together in a particular topic. Next, auditory learners prefer to listen to the information by the teacher or other sources, therefore just sitting and listening and absorbing the knowledge. They may prefer to give presentations to audiences and record their own notes to be able to listen back to them at a later date. Finally, kinesthetic learners prefer to physically be doing something in order to be able to learn the content. Therefore, you may find it really beneficial in class when doing something practical, and you find it easier to understand the content when doing so. Now we understand how we learn, let's explore which revision techniques would benefit you the most. However, it is important to understand that 66% of content is forgotten after 7 days, and 88% of content is forgotten after 6 weeks. Reading notes and textbooks only lead you to remembering 10% of that content. Therefore, revision shouldn't be something that you only do a few weeks before a test. Visual learners may revise best when watching documentaries or videos online about what you have learnt. Make flashcards with images to support you learning the content on the flashcard. You may also use a colour coding system. So for example, you might highlight definitions in one colour and then highlight an example in a different colour. You may also add graphs, diagrams and charts to your notes, and it may be really beneficial for you to make a study schedule and put it in a place that you're going to see often. There are also a number of different revision techniques that you can see on the screen as well that you may also find beneficial for you. Auditory learners prefer to study with others or in groups to be able to read out loud their notes and also to feed off the information and knowledge of the other students in the group as well. they will also prefer to record their own notes so that they can listen back to those at a later point. And what's really beneficial and key for auditory learners is for all distractions to be removed. So that includes social media notifications, TVs in the background, anything that's going to distract them whilst they're learning. Finally, kinesthetic learners will revise best when they're able to use flashcards, study in short breaks, getting active in the break to then come back and revise some more, be able to teach others the content they're revising. This could be a group or just one person who doesn't know the content to see if they are able to explain it well enough for them to be able to understand. And finally, using mnemonics. So mnemonics are a technique used to help remember things by association. So a really common one that is used is Richard of York gave battle in vain to remember the colours of the rainbow. Finally, we're now going to look at how someone at home is able to help and support you in creating your revision palace to revise your best. There are three main things that home can do to support in helping create your revision palace. Firstly, a study schedule and ensuring that they make you have a balanced schedule of revision and social time. Secondly, help with distractions and if necessary remove those distractions, so mobile phone, TVs, laptops, etc. And finally, supporting with the revision, so encouraging the use of Microsoft Teams where your resources are, or any other online resources that you use for your subjects. And finally, being able to be there as the audience if you prefer to give presentations to people so that you can test your knowledge. We've gone through my best top tips on how to revise in the best possible way depending on your learning style, and also how home can support you in learning in the best possible way. Home, if you have any questions at all regarding revision, then please do get in contact via the school phone number. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Mr. Oz and I'm here today to talk about maths and how to help you prepare your child for the exams that they'll be sitting this month. All pupils will be given 2 exam papers. However, exactly what these exam papers will look like will depend on which year group they are in, as we are taking these assessments as a way of developing their skills towards their final GCSE exam papers. In Year 7, the exam papers will feel very much like the SATs papers that they have done many times before. Most of the questions will be non-calculator and the questions themselves will mirror the style that they are used to seeing in their SATs papers from Year 6. We want these assessments to feel very familiar to the pupils so they can achieve their full potential. In Year 8, we will now have 1 non-calculator paper and 1 calculator paper. This is moving towards more calculator use in exams, which mirrors the GCSEs that they will be sitting. The questions themselves will be similar to the type of questions they've seen before, again breeding familiarity, allowing them to achieve their full potential. In Year 9, we now start to develop their skills towards the GCSE style questions. So the questions on this exam paper will be from GCSE papers. In this case, all the questions will be calculator questions. This again gives them practice at using calculators in exam scenarios so as to breed this familiarity for their GCSEs. To help you revise, your class teacher will give you a revision list which gives you topics to revise for your assessments. Below is an example of the Year 7 revision list. As you can see, this revision list is quite detailed. Every question is given with their topic and then a Hegarty clip that helps them revise. More on that later. In Year 8 and Year 9, you will see that the revision list is slightly less detailed as we start to prepare them for a GCSE exam where we don't truly know what will be on the exam. At this point, we are still telling them what is on the exam, just in a little bit less detail to help support the idea of thoroughly revising. As before, we are giving Hegarty clips, and again, I'll be talking about that in just a minute. I'm now going to talk about how to revise for maths. As you can see from the PowerPoint, there are 5 key things to do. Firstly, be organised. Then use the revision lists. Once we've done that, you revise key information that we need. Then we need to practice questions, lots of questions, and again, even more questions. And finally, if we're still unsure about something, ask a teacher. I'm going to go through each of those points in a bit more detail to explain how we can support. The first thing to do is be organised. So that means you know when your tests are, where the revision lists are, and what equipment you need for each exam. Your class teacher will be telling you that in the next few days, and should be posting the information on Teams for you to refer back to. To start with, go to the revision list and rank rate all the skills. That means decide if you're very good at a subject, not good at all, or somewhere in between, and colour them green for good, red for struggling, and yellow for somewhere in between. Once you've done this, you now have a clear idea on which topics you need to revise. Once you've been through the revision lists, you should have a clear idea on what topics to revise. Start with the topics you coloured red and then go on to the topics that you coloured yellow. Depending on who you are will depend on which revisions work best for you. Some people like to read a book, for example a study guide. Some people prefer to browse on the internet. You could use BBC Bitesize. And other people prefer to watch videos. Hegarty Maths is great for videos. Whichever works for you is fine, as long as you are doing something. One of the most important aspects of maths revision is practice questions. You must practice the skills that you have spent time learning. This gives you the experience of understanding how it could appear in an exam and gives you confidence to try the questions that you struggle with in an exam situation. Practice questions are vital. Practice, practice, practice. Two of the best places to practice questions are Corbett Maths and Hegarty Maths. Hegarty Maths is a wonderful tool to help your maths revision. Every child has a login to Hegarty Maths, and if they can't log on, can ask their teacher to reset the password. You can use the search function to search directly for the clips that we have already highlighted, just by typing in the number, and that will take you to a very useful page for your revision. It will include a video of the skills involved and then practice questions. The practice questions will be marked if you try them, so you will get instant feedback on if you've understood the skill or not. Using Hegarty Maths for your revision would make a fantastic tool because it combines the information you need and the practice questions to support this. If your child was only going to use one website for their revision, I would strongly recommend that this is the website they use. Finally, I would say if you're still unsure, then please do ask. Your first portal call should be your class teacher, but if for some reason they can't answer the question or you can't ask them the questions, on the screen there are 3 contact emails where you should get the answers you need. I hope this presentation has been helpful, and I do wish you good luck in your exams this month.
Hi everyone, it's Miss Smith here, Head of Science. I'm going to speak to you about the curriculum assessments in January. The first thing you need to know is that you're going to be doing 3 assessments, each of 15 minutes long. And so whether you're in year 7, 8 or 9, that means you're going to have a 45-minute assessment in one of your science lessons. So the dates for the science lessons are on the screen now. You can see that it's by band and year group. It's going to take place in one of your lessons with one of your teachers. There'll be 3 separate papers, a biology paper, a physics paper, and a chemistry paper. So what do you need to know to prepare yourselves for these assessments? Well, you will need to know the content from September, so everything you have learned since September. If you want to know what that is, I suggest that you look on the school website for the revision list, or you go to your class team where all your resources should be. You could also take your book home to help you to revise, and your book should have a tube map and a knowledge organiser so you can see what exactly you've studied since September. So revision needs you to have learnt the information since September. Revision means revisit, and you need to make sure that the knowledge is strong that you have from the notes in your book. And what I suggest you do is you start off by thinking, what do you have in terms of gaps in your knowledge? It might be that you are absolutely confident with everything that you've done since September. It might be that you've missed a lesson, or that there's some bits of information that you're simply not sure about. So the first thing you need to do is you need to identify any of the gaps in your knowledge. So look at the revision list and work out what it is that you perhaps are unsure about. The things that you're confident with, you can leave for the moment and you can go back and study those when you are practicing. But you might want to look in more detail at what you need to study more, and make sure you're honest with yourself. Don't just do the things that you can already do. Make sure that you work out what bits in your book you're unsure of. And what I suggest you do is that you find those gaps, and then perhaps you go on BBC Bitesize, or you look on your class team, or you go on the Old Oak Academy. It's now called Continuity Oak, and you can see the link on the screen, and you'll find lots and lots of PowerPoints and videos and help there. You might also want to buy a revision guide. They're £3.50 on Parent Pay, and if you come to me or one of your science teachers with a copy of your receipt, we can get those to you. So go over the content that you've already learned. If you've not learned it, find the gaps and reread that information. Then what you can do is you might want to make some flashcards. So write down the notes from your book. You might want to do what's called a brain dump, where you read your exercise book and then you write some short notes on absolutely everything you can remember from that single topic. You could try and read your notes and then just reduce it into a few bullet points and then fewer bullet points until eventually you've just got a very small amount of information that covers 2 or 3 lessons. An alternative way to revise is to put the information into a diagram, or put the information into a table or a picture. Sometimes that just helps you to revisit the content or helps you to learn and understand the content better. Once you've worked out the bits that you're unsure of and you've gone back, you reviewed that information, then you need to start practicing. And so don't give up, keep practicing. It's the way to improve. So what can you do to practice? Well, the same websites and resources that you used to close the gaps can be used to help you to practice. And so what we've got here then is Teams. Again, look to your class team. Maybe use BBC Bitesize or your revision guide. There are questions on Bitesize. There'll be questions in your team. There's questions in the revision guide, and there's plenty of questions on Continuity Oak, and they're tailored to each individual lesson. And then once you've found out what you can't do, you've gone over that piece of information, we now need to practice. So maybe you want to draw your work as a map. Maybe you want to practice some exam questions or some past paper questions from your teacher, or those are on Continuity Oak. Maybe you want to quiz yourself, or you want to get together with a friend or a family member and do the quizzes off BBC Bitesize. Don't forget that in science there are lots and lots of subject-specific words, and you need to know what those words mean. Cell, for example, in biology means something different to cell in physics, so make sure that you know what the key vocab is for your lessons. When you are asking questions, then make sure you know what the command word is. What I mean by that is the instruction. So have you been asked to describe? Have you been asked to draw a graph? Have you been asked to explain? And those command words all mean something slightly different. And so I've put what the instruction means just there on the slide for you to review. You've also got your knowledge organizer, and your knowledge organizer should be in your book, and you can use that. That is the knowledge, the key knowledge that you need. And lastly, don't forget about the practical activities that we do. You might well be asked to recall a practical or analyze some results or plot a graph. So to recap, check the school website for the knowledge and the content that you need to know. It is essentially everything since September. Collect your book from your teacher and work your way through your book. If there's anything in your book that you're unsure of, go to the websites and the resources that I've mentioned and review your knowledge. Use some of the tactics that I've suggested to help you to relearn or revisit the subject knowledge, and then practice what you've learnt. So using the quizzes on BBC Bitesize, or the quizzes on the Continuity Oak, or some of the questions your teachers have put on Teams. And finally, good luck in your science exams. If you've got any questions, please come and find me, I'm Miss Smith, or just ask one of your science teachers. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Mrs Sloan and I'm here to inform you on how to revise for your Key Stage 3 English assessments. So first of all, I've just put on the screen the key texts that our Year 7, 8 and 9 students have been studying. So for Year 7, they've studied Treasure Island, Year 8 have studied Macbeth and Year 9 have studied Othello. And I'm going to tell you now how you can revise for your assessments for each of these key texts. So first of all, we've got Year 7 who have studied Treasure Island this term. I've just put here some ideas on how to revise and what they need to revise. So first of all, if students head to the Academy website, to the student landing page, they'll find there the revision list. And the revision list will ask that students revise language devices and the effect that they have on the reader. They revise the plot, characters and themes from the novel. They familiarise themselves with key spellings, which are suggested on the revision list. And also I've created a team which you can see at the top there, the Year 7 English revision team, and I've uploaded language devices there with the definition and some examples of language devices. I've also uploaded some model answers because students will be expected to use the petal structure that we use in class to answer the assessment question. If you just look at the orange box there, you can see that students will be awarded marks for the following: understanding of the text, character, theme and plot, understanding of language devices and the effect that they have on the reader, and accuracy of spelling, punctuation and grammar. Year 8 and 9 have both studied Shakespeare plays, Macbeth and Othello. So I've created a revision team for both year groups, and in English, every 2 weeks the students receive a new knowledge note. This knowledge note covers key themes, key characters, contextual factors, quotations and key vocabulary that they will use in their fortnightly assessments that we have in class. This assessment could cover any of those knowledge notes, so all knowledge notes have been uploaded to the team for them to use for their revision. I've also uploaded model answers based on the text that they've studied so that students can familiarise themselves with the petal paragraph structure. As you can see in the yellow box, students will be awarded marks for understanding of text, characters, theme and plot. use of quotations to provide evidence in their answer, analysis of language devices used by the writer, understanding of writer's intentions, and knowledge of contextual factors. As well as providing revision lists on the website and information and resources on Teams, we also encourage all of our students to use BBC Bitesize for their revision. This is for Year 7, 8 and 9. You can see on the previous slides, all students have been asked to explore effect on the reader, all of them asked to investigate language in a fiction text, and for Year 8 and 9 they're also expected to explore context. So I've just put some examples there of things that they could search on Bitesize, and it'll give them lots of information and videos to help revise those topics. Finally, we also have GCSE Pod that students can use to revise their assessment topic. So all students have access to GCSE Pod. I've just put a link there on the screen for you to use. And in their account they can revise any assessment topic, so this could be Othello, Treasure Island or Macbeth. As an example, I've just put some screenshots there so that you can see how this works. The first one, you can see that I've just typed in Othello, and then underneath it's come up with 19 pods that I can click on with different things like themes, characters, plot overview. I would then pick one of those that I want to revise, and it will come up with a short video, which you can see in the second screenshot. The videos are normally no longer than 5 to 6 minutes, some of them are much shorter, and they would watch this video and then they'll be presented with multiple choice questions, as you can see in the third screenshot. Students will answer those questions and assess their knowledge of the text. Thank you for listening. If you have any other questions, then please email me at esloan@stmca.org.uk. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Miss Murphy and I'm the subject leader for RE. This afternoon I'm going to talk you through some strategies that students can use to prepare and revise in RE at Key Stage 3, which will help, as you can see on the board, to scaffold and build them up through Key Stage 3 RE all the way through to their GCSE and beyond. So to begin, the starting point for all students before revising is to understand what it is that they need to be revising and to be able to go through that list and check what they need to focus their revision on. So all students in RE do have a year group Teams page as well as their own class Teams page. As you can see on the screen here, an example of the DP1, which is the data point assessment in January. Year 9 here have been sent a list which gives them the revision list, which includes revision videos for every topic, a link to their knowledge organisers and all of the lesson PowerPoints. So via this Teams they can access the list of topics that they need to prepare for, as well as all of the resources that they can use to prepare for their upcoming exams. And when students click onto that link to look at their checklist, it will look at something a little bit like this. So they will be given an overview of the topics that they need to revise. So here, for example, you can see the Year 9 revision checklist for January, which is philosophy and the Children of God unit that they have studied so far. And then as they scroll down through the document, they will see this checklist broken down further with various revision videos that they can use, where they simply need to click onto the link and it will take them through to the video. What students should be relatively confident with at this point, because we do it a lot in class, is understanding how to make notes when they watch a video. So how to colour code their notes, how to summarise what they are watching, and then how to use those revision notes to prepare for upcoming questions and exams. In addition to the year group Teams pages, all students will also have their own class team. So again, this is just an example of a class team on the screen here. And within their class team, students have more specific details, for example, how lessons have been tweaked for their class, where classes have completed dirt work or practice questions together. Those resources will be there specifically for that class. So in their class team, students will have the same folders for each topic. They will have keyword folders, revision guides and knowledge organisers, activities that they can complete, on all of the lessons that they've covered in class, and students can review these at any time. It is here as well that students will be able to access their assignments. So their homework will be set by their class team, and in the channels on the left they will see topic breakdown. So if, for example, they get to the end of year 9 and they really need to focus their revision on Judaism, they can click on the Judaism channel and it will take them to all of the resources specifically for that unit. And we do use both the year group team for whole year group announcements, and then for more specific announcements between teachers and their classes, they will use the individual class teams like this one to send notices and reminders. So within both class teams and year group teams, all students at Key Stage 3 have access to their knowledge organisers, which provide an overview of each topic that they study. Now, there are lots of ways in which students can use these to help to prepare for exams and to work with friends and family to prepare in their revision. So some examples of things that students can do with their knowledge organisers is they can make their own revision cards. They could design their own knowledge organiser, so taking the information from the knowledge organiser provided and completing their own summarised version. I am going to talk through a way of doing that shortly. Knowledge organisers are brilliant for having friends or relatives quiz students, and for students to be able to design their own revision quizzes, to quiz themselves, to bring to class, and we can use them in lesson, for example, and to design their own practice questions using the key RE command terms. So all students in year 7, 8 and 9 are used to their assessments having a focus on literacy, understanding, which is where they are quizzed, so short answers, discernment topics, which is their extended writing, which is usually focusing on the skills of describing, explaining, discussing and evaluating. And then they have a responding task where they need to reflect on what they've been studying and apply it to the world around them. So students are able to think of a topic and then apply the key terms on the board here and create their own revision practice questions. So students can find these knowledge organisers in the year group teams if they go onto class materials. We try and encourage students to not see revision as something that they do just before an assessment or an exam or a data point, but actually something which is ongoing throughout their studies. And homework is brilliant for that. All students are set homework every single Friday in RE, and at Key Stage 3 this is always a quiz which is set via Teams. So it's through Microsoft Forms. Students will get a link every Friday and it's due for the next Friday, and they simply need to click on the link and complete the quiz questions. These are brilliant because students are able to get instant feedback, so they can straight away see which questions they've got right and which ones they've got wrong. Our advice then is that any that students are getting wrong, they should have a notepad that they write them out and write the correct answer out, so that they are constantly reviewing where they need to focus their revision on. So these are so important. If students are completing their homeworks every Friday, then when they reach each assessment point, whether that be a deeply marked piece of work in class or a data point assessment or an end of year exam, they've covered the core knowledge and they've been recalling and revising it throughout the year every week. If students do struggle to complete homework at any point, we do also have laptops available in the RE department where students are more than welcome to come and complete their homework after school with us on a Wednesday or a Thursday after school. So taking which topics students feel that they need to focus in more detail on, whether that be when they are going through their checklist or knowledge organiser and they are noticing which topics they're struggling on, or whether they are working out which quiz questions they are struggling on the most as they go through each of the homeworks. Students should then go and use BBC Bitesize to research these topics in further detail. Students are welcome to take their class workbooks home, which they use to record all of their class notes and their revision resources, so they can use those as well for each data point assessment. but lots of students prefer to keep their book in school and then use the online resources. So the best one that is available at the moment for RE is BBC Bitesize. And similarly to the way in which we lay our teams out, there are key topics which students click through. There are larger chunks of information, and then there are quizzes where students can reflect on what they have learnt. One way of revising which we introduced last year, and it's been really effective with our students, is something called a folding frenzy. So on the board here you can see an overview of what a folding frenzy is, and I will just take you through an example so that you can see it, because this is an excellent technique for students to complete on their own, to complete at home with you, to complete after school, and it's something that they can keep with them and test themselves then. So what all students need to do is they take an A4 piece of paper, they fill the sheet with everything that they know, they add to that using a different colour, they then fold that and do the same, but this time in mind map form, so it's half the size. They then fold it again, so it's half the size again, and complete bullet points as a flashcard. And then finally they fold it one more time and just create a small card of symbols, and they then use that in reverse to test themselves. So I'm just going to show you a little bit of an example of what that looks like. So the first page, for example, will look something a little bit like this. This is an example of a Year 9 Judaism folding frenzy. So the first page, as I said, should be an A4 sheet, and initially students should write everything that they know about that topic. They should have the heading at the top, subheadings for topics within that topic, and they should write everything that they know about that topic. They should then check their classwork, revision guides, homework, BBC Bitesize, and add anything that they forgot in a different colour so that they can see what they remembered and what they needed support with. We do always encourage students, like you can see on the example here, to highlight keywords and key sources of wisdom. Students will then fold their A4 sheet, and like you can see on the board, they will cut their revision down then to a mind map. So again, they will do that from memory, so they'll try to remember everything that they've just written on their A4 sheet. They will then check back, and anything that they missed they will add in a different colour. And very similarly, they will fold that one more time to do their final page of note taking, where they will cut this down to a flashcard. So this should just be very short bullet points. Again, starting off by writing everything that they can remember from their mind map, and then checking back and adding in a different colour so that they can constantly see, are there any common themes or common key terms that they are forgetting between each stage? Then they know what they need to test themselves on and focus their revision on. So the final step then is that they fold. At this point the sheet is quite small and they just use symbols. So the idea of this is these should be used as trigger symbols, whereby students can look at the image, and just from the image they should be able to talk about verbally all of the concepts that they've just written and summarised on their flashcard mind map and full notes page. So for example, here a student might look at the picture of the Torah and they may try and recall stories like Genesis and Exodus from the Torah, and talk about how the Torah is found in the synagogue, about how it's a source of authority. So students should be able to then use the symbols to test themselves. Some students prefer to use trigger words, so they may just have a few keywords instead of imagery. And then the final step is to test yourself. So students should then look at the symbols, see what they can recall. Check back to the flashcard. Did they remember everything from the symbols? Anything that they didn't remember, they should highlight. Similarly, they should work all the way back to the notes page. And when they get back to the notes page, they should be highlighting anything that they didn't manage to recall. And again, focusing on those topics that they may have struggled to recall. Can they design a question? Can they design a revision resource specifically on that topic? And finally, just for any additional support that students want, just to broaden their subject knowledge in RE, to respond to the issues of RE in the world, which always supports them in their responding task, in each assessment that they complete to improve their oracy skills and their literacy skills, and a chance to explore some new and interesting topics to allow them to be more reflective. We have a club called Creative Club. This is run by Mr. Mills and Mr. Aston. It is on every Thursday after school in room 122 over in RE. And it's an exciting opportunity for students to showcase their learning, but also to develop their learning and see actually where RE is creatively seen within the world, whether that be through film, music, art. And broadening these skills will always help students to develop in their assessments. So thank you very much for listening. If you do have any additional questions, do please feel free to contact me via my email, or you can also contact Mr. Drowski, who is the Key Stage 3 lead in RE, and students and parents are also able to contact any of their RE teachers should they need any further assistance. Thank you very much.
So that brings us to the end of our Key Stage 3 family revision session this evening. I hope you found it useful. Thank you to all of our department leads who have inputted into those sessions and given us those really valuable top tips for how best to prepare for your assessments in their subject. So remember, when you start those assessments the week following next, you need to have that can-do attitude. Be positive, have that growth mindset that we talked about at the beginning. You can do this and you can achieve your potential if you put the work in beforehand to prepare properly. Make sure that you answer every question that you can on every test. If you don't put an answer, you definitely won't get the marks. Whereas if you do put an answer, you never know, you might just pick up some marks. And really focus on your strengths, what you are best at, and celebrate that. If you hit a question that you feel that you can't answer or you don't know what it means, use those decoding techniques to try and write something, because there may be some marks allocated for working out even if you don't get to the end of that question. And spend every minute of that allocated assessment time checking your paper, so we don't want to see any heads on the desk, any pens down daydreaming. Use every second of that time to check through your paper, because if you go through it again, the answer may come to your mind later on in that assessment. So all that's left to say from me then is thank you very much for watching this video and attending tonight's Key Stage 3 Family Revision Workshop. We hope you found it useful, but as always we really appreciate your feedback, so my email address is on there on screen. Please do email me if you've got any feedback or suggestions, or if you have any further questions, and myself or the relevant person in school will get back to you. Thank you and have a lovely rest of the evening, and students, best of luck with assessment fortnight.